Chat, here we go. Rezears has taken on the challenge of playing Diaz on US East. And if you've been at the channel in the past few days, you know that Diaz has taken down many a top EU 1v1er by forcing them onto his technically home turf over here on US East. It's where we've seen him play pretty much all of his 1v1s, and a nice air dribble fake will be the first goal. So not an easy challenge. Rezears said that this was a perfect server for him when we had him in the test server before. It's 120 ping, it looks like, steady for him, and 92 for Diaz. So big ping advantage, I would say, to Diaz on this server. But Rezears willing to take the challenge because why not? It would actually be quite the impressive result for him if he were the first to break this little mini streak from Diaz against these EU players. And I'm looking into who was going to be willing to take Diaz down. We only have so many left. If you look through RL duels, I think Zen and Feer are the big two, but I'm not sure if they'll want to come over to US East to try and beat Diaz. Right now, Diaz is going to see what he can do against Rezears. Of course, everyone wants to see him against the MENA players, but there really is no real way to get the MENA players against a South American player. Even though Diaz has the best South American ping of any Brazilian I've seen play on US East, I don't think he can actually handle EU ping. So we'll have to just wait. Some matchups we'll just have to wait until they're on the same ping. And honestly, these matchups we do on high ping are probably worth running again anytime they happen to be in the same location. Rezears, he's going to get on the board. He's going to do so with his mechanics. That has always been his strong suit in this one. It's a late second reset. I mean, that was a really nice shot. I'm glad I watched it again from his perspective. Awkward to get up and get that first reset, and yet he finds a way to get a second one. Rezears mechanically ahead of the curve often, it seems, and right now the players who seem to be attempting to be mechanically ahead of the curve are doing a lot of zap dashing. You'll see it from Diaz, and we clearly see it from Rezears. How old is Rezears? Yeah, I think he's in the late teens, but that's when most players are anyways. Diaz, air dribble from the back wall. Diaz is going to flip away from the ball and allow Rezears to have a freebie. By the way, Rezears' name is RLCS ranked seeding. I don't know if that's actually true. We talked a lot about the RLCS announcement, both on YouTube, if you want to go just back and look at the YouTube video, or earlier in this stream. And I think it's going to be ranked seeding probably for the teams that they don't already know of, right? Or maybe it's full ranked seeding for everybody, which, to be fair, that's not part of the announcement. So I don't know if people got told that behind the scenes or something. But it sounds like Rezears has maybe been queuing ranked 3s with the name RLCS ranked seeding to explain why he's hard sweating. I don't know. Diaz going to start another air dribble from his own half, and he's actually been missing out on the finishes here, which has allowed Rezears to get back in the game. He's going to try and show him how it's done, but actually got a final touch after his flip that pushed the ball off target. Little pinch to punish Diaz. This is a great play from Rezears. He sees he sees Diaz rushing out to the midfield to try and stop him from getting anything going. That immediate pinch gets the ball off the wall and up above Diaz. Does not allow him to interfere with the play, and then the follow-up is much more trivial after the tougher setup. Fake kickoff for Diaz. Another dribble from ceiling heights. We've seen it from him a million times. The finish is much cleaner this time. Hard to blame Rezears for going low on this one, with the last 2 or 3 from Diaz being a bit lackluster, but that was perfect connection there. Diaz able to retake the lead. Diaz trying to bump Rezears off the ball. or steal possession. Not able to do either as Rezears resets at the midfield. Diaz, man. He is being a maniac, searching for demos when he misses. Instead of giving up, resetting, retreating defensively, he just turns back in at max speed and tries to make it work. And it's not always going to work, as Rezears will boom a long shot fairly simply, since Diaz was far too out of the play to dive like he just did. Now it's going to be a fake kickoff from Rezears. Somebody was calling Diaz's fake kickoff cringe. Well, apparently it's going to be cringe for both sides, if you think that's the case. Rezears, can he get back to make the save? Got slightly thrown off of his recovery, but almost boxed Diaz out enough. Wave dash kickoff for Rezears. Tried to control the ball back to his corner, but Diaz wall dashing to it to start a possession. Soft touch from Diaz. Rezears not able to get cleanly out of the corner. It's hard to get a possession going, find an angle. Diaz cuts it off before it starts. It's going to be Rezears taking that back corner boost, but Diaz has more than enough to work with. Tried to use a little bit of boost late in order to bump Rezears, but Rezears jumped over the top of it and stuck with the play to make the save. Solid defensive maneuver from Rezears, but he's going to need to pop off on offense here if he wants to tie it up, potentially force overtime. Diaz playing quickly, punishes a Rezears who was being greedy. Maybe needed to be greedy, though, as he turned infield and was prepping to try and control that ball towards the net. That's not going to happen, not with Diaz recovering quickly on the back wall. And now a 2-goal lead that Rezears will take one away from. So he's at least right back where he was before. In fact, I would argue he's even in a better position. He allowed Diaz to score, but he took it back with a kickoff, and now he's at a kickoff, which I think a kickoff is a pretty volatile position to be at. Gives him a better chance here in the last 19 seconds. As Diaz taps one towards the orange net, but should by no means take it now. He should delay and force Rezears out of position, which is exactly what he does. And then pops it up for a bump to secure the game. Not likely that Rezears will get 2 in 8 seconds. And I like that. Diaz playing the clock just like he should in that situation in order to make sure no magic comeback happens. But it is a long best of 7. Diaz wanted best of 7. And game number 1 will go to him. Can you do a video on most mechanical players? I'd have to think about it. Who do I think most mechanical players are right now? Diaz going to put himself right back on top. Make it tough on Rezears to climb back. Can be easy, especially when you're the player who's playing on the away server, to tilt out of the match, but it is a long match. Rezears could potentially learn how to take Diaz down with a couple games to spare, but so far game number 2 going the way that game number 1 did. Reset at ceiling height. Diaz threatening that flick so perfectly. He gets Rezears in the air. And then it's the wave dash catch, the wave dash low shot, really, in order to get a second goal. Rezears flick over the top is going to completely bail out of the back corner. Not going to try and stay one step ahead and steal the boost. Now Diaz again, this time not as threatening with his flick, as he was clearly falling to the ground. Rezears, though, tried to just beat him in the midfield, and I guess Diaz could not get back to the ball in time. So he goes to the midfield. Will pop this ball straight to the sky. Has the reset. Takes the flick for real this time. And Rezears can't catch a break right now. Diaz earlier faked, beat him low. This time he shows that he does indeed have the flick. If you try and dive underneath him, you'll get caught out of position for a 3-0 lead. Rezears just cutting around the nets. Going to eventually get his goal. Good way to capitalize on the kickoff possession. Never allowing Diaz to really reset. eventually getting his first. Rezears is able to get his own corner boost, so that should be a goal. In fact, he went for the most secure possible way. He definitely could have long shot, but he might have missed, and then he wouldn't have had a follow-up. So instead, see, it's just still on the 100 from Diaz. He knows a soft first touch can be easily followed up at no risk to bring himself within one. Diaz, oh my goodness, he found a way to make this score. It seemed like he had absolutely no purpose at the midfield, just dribbling the ball straight down to the ground. But Rezears felt confident about his ability to take it away. He didn't want to allow Diaz to hit the ground for free. When somebody does make a mistaken dribble like that, you want to punish. You want to be around on the ground. You don't want to let them keep the possession going cleanly by landing. But, of course, you don't want to find yourself in too deep and actually make it possible for Diaz to get a goal out of what was not a great setup. That is what ended up happening. Diaz, full field dribble. This time Rezears has the correct read. We watched it from his perspective. He'll take it away. Diaz is going to try and stay in possession. Right now we're watching what it's like to play against a Diaz who is staying all over the ball. And even though Rezears finally gets to touch it, he just dies. Nice respawn. Great respawn from Rezears. Really wise to pick that spawn location. But he will die again as Diaz desperately insists on getting his goal. And must do so while constantly at supersonic apparently. Daniel versus Diaz again. They have a record to settle. Hasn't Daniel just won all of those, or did Diaz win one of them? Are they tied up? Diaz wall dash to long shot. I want to see from his perspective again what kind of speed burst he had, because he's out of boost, 0 boost, but he actually was already supersonic, but he dashes onto the wall into that shot. So clean. It's 1-1. Is that right? They played in a grand final, didn't they? And wasn't that one a sweep for Daniel, or am I misremembering? They might have played before that one and then Diaz won it. Air dribble bump for Diaz, gonna make it 7-2. Talked about it before. Long series, a best of 7. And Rezears right now is getting a sneak peek at everything that Diaz can do. And he starts to lock in. Will trying to play to his speed be the right call, or will slowing him down be the only answer? My goodness, Diaz. He has been mechanically on point for the entirety of game number 2. And this backflip flick is going to soar over the top of Rezears. You really can't afford to have this if you're Rezears. The kickoff goal is going to hurt a ton. He went for a no-jump kickoff or a low 50 or a low wave dash kickoff. But he didn't actually jump. Wave dash kickoff now. Rezears got just enough on it to guide Diaz away from the target. Diaz wanted a pass to himself, but this is a pass to Rezears. He needs to convert on this goal. Tried to the ground double. Didn't get it. Diaz is in and out of the net. Still in a bad position as Rezears taking his corner boost. Diaz tries to challenge. Rezears low 50 sent back to the midfield. This does buy time for Diaz to grab the back corner. But it is still a great position for Rezears, and he converts. Credit to Rezears when everything that's going on in the game is calling for him to just tilt out of it. He stays in control of this extended possession and finds his opportunity. Maybe running out of time in game number 2, but a good sign for Rezears in the series to come. Diaz, is he going to try and find this angle? He is. He got it on target, but over the top. So I guess he didn't get it on target, but he got it midfield at least. And I can't believe Rezears might not get this goal. Oh, gosh. Rezears put it perfectly on the post. It bounces off the post and not quite in. And Diaz just doesn't know what to do. He tried to get around it and backflip, but he just owned gold. That was one that Rezears definitely could not mentally afford to score, or to not score, I guess is what I mean to say. As Diaz going the distance. Oh my goodness. I mean, the fact that he keeps this at ceiling height for so long does not allow Rezears to come up and get it. Only right before he takes the shot does he bring it down at all. And it's such a powerful finish. It makes you wonder how much higher the players can play now that they're keeping the ball at ceiling heights, just for the sake of defenders not being able to challenge. It's like if they weren't limited by that ceiling, where would it end? And now Diaz double reset. Leads to nothing. A demo as Rezears set him up for a nice angle, but no, Diaz has a respawn that puts him probably in the one spawn location that could cover that double. Rezears can't get the bump as he lobbed a slow one on target. All he needed was to connect with Diaz, and it would have been a 5th goal. Right now, really, Rezears is just going for mental victories. Certainly not going to be getting 6 goals in these final moments, but can he find the answer, find the recipe for the rest of the series? Diaz will not be getting an 11th, so 10-4. Over and out in game number 2 as we head to game 3. Diaz mechanically on fire. Is it possible to slow him down? We have seen only very few players do so, and all of those players were players native to US East. Rezears trying to be the first to do it from EU, and this air dribble to start the game is not going to cut it. Rezears had an angle on a kickoff goal. Diaz did pop up to take that away, but that just means boost steal for Rezears. That was a bit too strong of a first touch because he was never going to be able to get past Diaz. And if he makes it softer, he can get a second outplay, but with that first touch, oh my goodness. He makes it so Diaz can cover the angle easily. That being said, Diaz just essentially owned gold. Although, credit to Rezears, I should say, for not panicking, not jumping up in defense, because that would have allowed Diaz to recover. He stayed grounded and basically dared Diaz to hit it, and Diaz did not. Nice takeaway off the kickoff for Rezears. 2-1. Able to grab that midfield boost and punish Diaz. Rezears, power slide cut, nice flick to keep it away. Actually got the perfect bounce. Oh my goodness, Rezears starting to get a bit of momentum. You got to shout out these flicks now, as he does exactly what he needs to, which is to get it over the top of Diaz and somehow finds a way to put it on the corner where it bounces in front of the net. Anything else and he wouldn't be able to follow it up. Rezears even trying to outspeed Diaz right now. He did so from the midfield off the kickoff earlier when he had the boost advantage, trying to do so again in front of his net. Did not expect Diaz to actually dive all the way to the corner on that one, I don't think. So Rezears surprised that he was forced to make a move when Diaz actually did end up diving in for the challenge. Diaz now bumping Rezears out of the way, but I think Rezears is going to easily retake possession. This pinch now could be a race back to net. Diaz can't get ahead of Rezears, who stops it at the midfield, but still a great possession for Diaz. Rezears has had a tough time stopping or slowing Diaz down in the air. This time he does well. Diaz having to start the dribble from much closer to the net, allowing Rezears to be able to react and get that read. Pass back to himself in the corner. Long shot. Did he just catch Diaz out of position? He did. So goals that seem to be going Diaz's way all series long the quick long shots, relying on the speed. This time goes to Rezears. Direct kickoff goal, make it 5-1. Rezears just taking a standard kickoff. Looked like Diaz trying to flip through it diagonally. Rezears got there quickly and got goal side of the ball. This one in favor of Diaz. Can he get something going? This is where he's most efficient, and he reads defenders well. He saw Rezears challenging early, and because Diaz grabs the reset right away, he's available to use it if a defender approaches him at any point during the dribble. Something that Daniel, I know, is doing early on really well. Just first touch resets. If you're working on improving your air dribbles in 1v1 situations, it's pretty high level to be getting those kind of resets. No, you should be trying to get them as early as possible. You want to be playing like Diaz. Here's Rezears. He's going to get his reset a little bit later, but it's going to be just as effective. My goodness, Rezears. Going the whole distance of the field. Gets the reset and uses it for that wave dash shot. I mean, that is great in so many ways. Not just because there's powerful top left, but also if Diaz does get the save, Rezears is instantly wheels on the ground, supersonic, ready to go take possession right back. So it was even a safe play for Rezears. Now Rezears will head to the ceiling again. Diaz passively defending Rezears, trying to wait patiently. He did not want to just send the ball directly at him, and oftentimes you can get bad reverse challenges at the defenders by just being patient, but that was certainly not a bad reverse challenge. Diaz takes it away with his backflip, and now he's within 3. This is not a guaranteed win here for Rezears just because he went off to an early lead. Lots of time left. He's going to pop over the top of Diaz, and Diaz won't be the only one reading defenders well, as Rezears sees that Diaz is pulling off of his pre-jump, heading back to the ground, and sends it over the top of him. Rezears trying to just get a dribble started here with the chaos of Diaz flying around him. Wasn't able to get a clean one. Ground pinch is strong, but Diaz is prepared for it. And now he's heading back the other way. Used his reset early because he saw Rezears in the air. Thought that's what he needed to do to get it around Rezears, but Rezears actually off of Diaz's camera had already bailed out of that challenge and went down to the ground. So he was right in the right spot, but he can't stop this one. Diaz putting it directly behind him. Able to dodge that bump, but just an awkward position for Rezears to get a meaningful save. Looks like a delay wave dash kickoff for Diaz. Not really going to go in his favor. Rezears, what a great shot, and actually an amazing save from Diaz. It's hard to get that high quality of a shot from a tight angle. And somehow Diaz had the perfect read on it too, in and out of the net. Can he get some offense here in the final seconds to make the end of this game interesting? Or will it just be Rezears extending it and making it safe? Looks like it will. In fact, Diaz has had enough and wants to go next. Game number 3. Gonna go to Rezears as he comes alive at the midway part of this series. Game number 4. Diaz and Rezears. Diaz calling for next as Rezears extended the lead to 4 late. And he took a little bit of a break to ready up here, but it is Rezears who is in control now. Rezears winning the first kickoff. Air dribble resets. You see Diaz just showing up to net too early. Sometimes that speed can be your downfall. Diaz gets there, has to put on the full brakes, come to a complete stop, and even then still kind of has a little bit of the near post available, so he's wondering, do I have to go backwards? Am I going to have to reverse to make a save? And when you get completely standstill like that, that's when it allows a guy like Rezears to shoot it out ahead of you. Diaz beating Rezears to this one, but Rezears got enough of a bump that he should be okay. Popping this one high. Actually didn't feather his boost to steal that back corner, which is interesting. It's not going to matter because Diaz is not going to end up going to get that 100, but normally you see players feathering through even if they have 100 just to make sure they're the ones with 100 and not their opponent. Diaz flicked the opposite side of the nets. Missed off the post, a bump on Rezears, but almost no boost left to work with. Rezears decides not to dive in. Probably a smart play. One of the only ways that Diaz on low boost could probably get an outplay is if Rezears went all in and he could just single jump pop it. Instead, Rezears relying on his boost to be able to react to the shot. What a hook shot. My goodness. This is the kind of thing that you may think that you could do and recreate easily, but this is perfect touch to put off the post and in. Probably easier than, you know, some of the double resets and stuff that he's hit, but still. It takes peak level of precision. Rezears in the back corner. He saw Diaz pre-jump behind the ball, but didn't panic. Knew he'd be heading back down to the ground, and Rezears' flick from this location has been lethal. A few different times now. The first one came from the corner, but now twice he's been able to set up a dribble in that spot. Those diagonal flicks arc perfectly into the net. Diaz saw Rezears head to the corner and just decided to take as quick a shot as he could, see if he could bait him out, and we basically did. Rezears recognized that he needed to stay in net, got the first save, but a zero boost trajectory directly into that post means a poor recovery and a very small chance of being able to stop the follow-up. Rezears is going to leave the play now as Diaz takes up for an air dribble bump. Can he keep Rezears from getting there? He can't. It's hard to convert on those bumps that happen right around midfield. There's so much time for defenders to get around it. Diaz almost did it, though. And he'll instead score on the follow-up from that play. Grabs the corner boost and gets a nice first touch reset. He's protecting the ball slightly as well on its way in. Rezears popping just underneath the crossbar. Again, he didn't feather his boost, and that was just a pure mistake, if you ask me. As he drives through the corner there, I mean, that's just a feather every time. I'm not sure why he's not doing it. You don't want Diaz to have a 100 boost. Very clearly, if you don't pick it up, he will. Rezears at 100 now, undercutting Diaz to keep him from getting some, and actually backflipped himself, or side flipped himself back onto the wall, which I like. Making a touch on the ball, but ultimately prioritizing having control over his car, which is probably most important. Great recovery from Diaz. Rezears put a little bit too much air under his flick and got demoed as Diaz found supersonic speed on limited boost in the corner. He wants to dive again for a Rezears demo. Rezears successfully evades, so now it's just Diaz all the way from the back wall. His signature dribbles, it seems, right now, and he dropped this one near the post. Rezears, did he intentionally save that off the post to be able to counterattack? He might have, because it felt like he was definitely in position to get a stronger save. Rezears, he's been equally as effective later in this series out of the air, but this air dribble will drop down right to Diaz, whose counterattack gets sent to the backboard. So neither one of these guys had a ton of boost. Rezears again playing passively. Now he's used up the little boost that he does have. Launching this half flip flick to the moon. And it seems like he's trying to decide between picking up pads and turning to challenge Diaz. Ultimately, he does stick with picking up pads and driving away from the play. Diaz is able to score. And now, with a 3-goal deficit, time is not on Rezears' side. Bump onto Diaz. Rezears, nice wall dash. Get the ball to the backboard, but what comes next? I actually think Diaz should have landed on the other side of the ball and just rushed that to net. Rezears was so awkward from our perspective, but Diaz keeps it on the back wall. You know what? He wants a bit more stylish of a goal. He doesn't want to just run it to the other side of the field. He wants to have 100 boosts, and he wants there to be a defender in net as he takes the full field air dribble reset to the top right. And Rezears is ready to go next. (3-1) for Diaz as we head to game 4. Game number 5, I say. That was game 4. Now we're into game 5. I like that Diaz likes to play best of 7s. Just get a little bit more Rocket League to watch. As Diaz takes to the skies at the start of this game, winning the first kickoff possession. Rezears. Oh, nice shots. Didn't seem like the kind of air dribble reset that scores often. Usually you need to get a little bit more height underneath these plays, but Diaz playing on absolutely no boost at all and recovering a little bit too late to the play. He's not going to get there in time. And it will be Rezears with the early lead. Diaz winning the midfield boost, but got bumped off possession. Rezears tried to get around for a long shot, but couldn't do so with how much time he had. And now Diaz dribble from the back corner, sees Rezears up early, but can't get the double. Looked like he was trying to send it to the backboard to play keep away and finish it up on the follow through, but there was no follow through. Instead, he cycles back to the blue half to start again. This time, an air dribble bump. He wants a for sure goal to start, and Rezears actually got orange trail on that ball, which means he touched it slightly but couldn't keep it out. I want to see how close he got to getting around this bump. Oh, he used his flip. That's actually really smart. He saved his flip for after the bump in order to cancel that backwards momentum, but still wasn't enough. Rezears has the reset, sees Diaz high on the back wall. Instead waits, brings it down. Diaz, can he recover out of the net in order to get a goal? He will not. Rezears makes his way back. And now he's actually going to hit him right back the other way. Diaz went all in on that shot. And it will be a Rezears goal. Huge delay wave dash kickoff for Diaz. Gets himself a clean midfield possession. Wall to air dribble is butter. You know Diaz has this every time. And as soon as you stop jumping, or sorry, as soon as you start jumping, you know, even earlier, he will just take it to the ground and fake you. Rezears should have a goal now to retake the lead. Little wave dash to send that one to the back wall. Diaz, kind of an all-in backflip. When he doesn't connect on that, he's not getting back around. Rezears, half flip. Can he get a bump? I actually think it was probably a bit mistaken to even go for it, but the zap dash recovery puts him right back into play. The reason why I was going to say it was a mistake to go for it is I felt like he made the recovery too hard on himself. But he proved me wrong at how quickly he popped back out. Now Diaz with this backflip flick. It's going to be enough. Putting the ball directly over the top of Rezears has worked a couple times now. As Rezears sets up the shadow, you see him almost creeping out in order to earn himself a bit of an angle in order to make the save, thinking that was going to go on that right post from Diaz's perspective, but instead, Diaz using the backflip to put it right over the top of Rezears. Not allow him to get any angle on the save. Diaz, late reset, should be easily covered, but he'll reset possession like he often is willing to do. He feels so good from playing from the back wall. It doesn't bother him at all if his first attempt gets saved and he has to fully reset. Rezears, interesting save he's making right now as he gets almost on the shooting side of the ball and guides it to the back wall. He has a ceiling reset. No way does he get this dunk, right? He tried to go for it. It might have actually bought him time to recover, but not even that zap dash will be enough. In fact, I think he needed to just make the save early. I think the zap dash, he might have gotten a little bit too interested in the zap dash when what he really needed to do was just double jump right in that moment and hope that Diaz puts it through his car. The other option is just getting scored on. So sure, you might jump past the play looking silly, but I don't think the zap dash was ever going to be enough. Diaz jumping over the top of this one. Rezears is able to pre-flip in order to send this to the back wall. Diaz trying to make some magic happen. Oh, he was close to what would have had to be a triple tap, I believe, in order to score it. Will just be Rezears' possession. Is there a triple bump? Does not connect. Or it does connect slightly, but Diaz able to get over the top of it. Rezears, he's a madman. When he seems like he's out of position, he's half flipping off the back wall to stay in control. Diaz, long shot, does punish Rezears with a close shadow. Diaz, so good at reading defenders. You see Rezears rushing to that boost, but then hitting the brakes. You know, speed at all costs is sometimes not the play. And if Rezears plays a little bit slower and approaches that boost later, maybe he doesn't feel like he needs to hit the brakes. Maybe he just stays at a better speed. Diaz trying to close this one out with a minute left to go. 2-goal lead. He's going to dribble from the back corner at ceiling height. We've seen it so many times, and he'll do it again. Diaz, it's a walk in the park for him. You could tell him to start the dribble anywhere on the field, and he will give it to you right into the top left or right. Wave dash kickoff for Rezears. Chipping this back to the midfield so he can get a 100 boost and make a dribble. He actually took this away from Diaz. This is a great play. You know, I don't know if this is necessarily because he knows Diaz is going to be challenging high or if it's just because all he could get with his positioning. But chipping that ball up and not bringing it towards the net makes it as hard as possible for Diaz to connect on his high challenge. But every kickoff's going to have to be in Rezears' favor, and this one doesn't seem like it is. He'll back off. And Diaz has done a great job playing his leads earlier in the series, but actually not the best of plays from him there. The hook shot right away. Diaz falls back to the ground. Rezears catch. Diaz does get a touch. That demo almost certainly does it. He's going to look for another demo. Cheeky grab from Rezears, but doesn't connect. He does keep Rezears from getting any boost, though, so he's not going to be able to get a meaningful possession. And now there is the demo. Diaz has just become a homing missile in the final moments. A fake flick. Rezears does cover the follow-up. One last opportunity to show off here at the end of the series, but it is going to be another victim for Diaz. He is slowly bringing all the best EU players onto US East and taking them down one by one. And he has just added Rezears to the list. Shout out Rezears, by the way, for coming to play what is essentially an away game like many people have. But Diaz does it again.